Cheers. This is a story, not a poem. Needs a bit of context as well. My dad's a vicar, and if anyone couldn't tell, I'm a vicar's kid. The signs are quite obvious. We're forced to compete against the rest of the church for our parents' affections and raised to have an unflinching self-belief in our own righteousness. So the fact I'm standing here trying to get approval from strangers is usually a sign that something seriously went wrong with parenting. This is a story from the Bible. This is my version of it. So if any of you have got your Bibles with you, this is from John 11. This is the raising of Lazarus. John's a very holy man, so thank you. Right. Now, a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This was the same Mary who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. You know, the one from the Dan Brown novels that everyone thinks Jesus was shacked up with. Anyway, Mary and Martha sent a message to Jesus saying, "Lord, the one you love is sick." When he heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death." Then Simon, known as Peter, said, "Lord, no one said it would end in death. They just said it was sick." John, the brother of James, piped up and said, "Peter's got a point, Lord. Did you check just how sick he is? Given the times we live in, it could be serious, or Mary could just be asking you to drop in a bit later for your weekly bit with her. In case, you catch his cold. I mean, picking that up would really balls up our plans for Passover, our lads' weekend away in Jerusalem." So the Lord sent Thaddeus and Nathanael to Bethany to check out exactly what Mary and Martha had meant. And it turned out that Lazarus and his donkey had been hit by a speeding chariot, and it didn't look good. The sisters wanted Jesus to see him, for they believed that only he could save Lazarus now. The disciples asked Jesus, "Lord, this doesn't make sense. Lazarus is a good man who keeps the law. Is he being punished for his sin?" And Jesus replied, "No, it's only for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." And one of the disciples, probably Judas, we're not really sure, muttered, "Right, so God hit one of your mates with a chariot just so you can get your name in the papers again." Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, so when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. Then he said to his disciples, "Right, come on, let's get back to Judea." "But Rabbi," they said, "we've been sat here doing bugger all for 2 days. Why have you waited so long to visit someone you apparently love who's not well?" Is it all those comments Mary started making about marriage? It is that, isn't it? Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they will see that the world's light is when a person walks at night, and they then stumble, for they have no light." "What the fuck's he on about?" Judas grumbled to Thomas. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. The sisters were busy trying to look after the crowd of people who'd come to pay their respects. But when Jesus showed up, Martha came out to meet him. "Where the hell have you been?" she said. "I sent a message last week, and you were only 2 miles up the road." Jesus went to reply, but Martha had already turned back to call her sister. "Mary, your boyfriend's here," she said. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, he was deeply moved, commenting to Peter, "Shit, she's pissed off. I'm going to have to marry her now, aren't I?" Jesus wept. He turned to Mary. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord." The Jews there said, "See how he loved him." But someone said, "No, he's just scared of Mary. He told her he makes blind people see, so she probably thinks he could have kept him from dying." Good point. Still, I heard he does that trick with the water, so we might get some decent booze in by the end of the day. Jesus came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across it. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," Martha said, "he's been in there for 4 days. It will stink." Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Jesus looked up and called out in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out mumbling something, but they couldn't hear him because his face and hands were wrapped with strips of linen, and there was a cloth around his face. Jesus said, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." They unwrapped Lazarus, who immediately began to scream. Everyone was shocked and looked at Jesus as if to ask, "What the hell do we do now?" John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, said, "Lord, why is Lazarus making so much noise? You think he'd be happy, what with having been dead and all that, and now being alive?" Then Thomas, who was full of doubt and questions, and therefore probably a psychiatrist eventually, said, "Lord, I've seen this somewhere else before. I've heard about this. It's post-traumatic stress disorder, isn't it?" Lazarus must have heard them talking, for he turned to them and said, "Of course it's fucking post-traumatic stress disorder. Are you for real? You're seriously going to ask that question? I've been sealed in a cave for 4 fucking days. Then your mate turns up late and starts waving his magic wand around and calls me to come out." "But the Lord has healed you, Lazarus," said Simon Peter. "He has brought you back to life." "Yeah," his brother Andrew chipped in. "Show some gratitude." "I wasn't fucking dead," screamed Lazarus. I just had severe concussion and was asleep. Then they wrapped me up in the bed sheets and stuck me in here. I woke up after my nap fucking terrified. It's my biggest nightmare being buried alive. You weren't dead, said Andrew. No! If you brought me back to life, why didn't you do anything to fix my injuries? Do you know how much damage a chariot causes when it ploughs into you when you're on your donkey? Look at my arm! And lo, Lazarus pulled back the linen on his arm to show them where it had broken and the bone had poked through the skin. It bloody hurts! But you can't even set the bone right, can you, Jesus? Jesus began to look awkwardly at his feet before saying, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies, and whoever believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? What? Said Lazarus. How the fuck does that help? Well, said Jesus, looking around at his disciples, we should probably get going now. We've got a big weekend planned, city breakaway. We need to get our packing done. Hope you feel better soon. Come on, lads, let's go. Oh, Mary, call me. And with a wink in her direction, the Lord turned and he was gone. Thank you.